On this episode of Bishop+Rook's Defender TV, we're going to walk you around the later style Defenders and compare those to the more classic and heritage builds that we're able to do here at the workshop and import to the United States. Cosmetically, not a lot of things have changed, but there are some performance enhancements that we want to talk about.
Hey, Andy here at Bishop+Rook Salisbury. Behind me is my TDCi Defender 110. This is a late 2011 model vehicle, and I figured I'd do a little a series of videos based around how different it is compared to the 1994 vehicles that you guys are buying from us right now. So if I turn the camera around, I'm going to give you a little tour of the vehicle. We're going to take it up the road and just explain the minor differences, but really Land Rover had a recipe that worked and they stuck with it, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So as I said, this is a 2011. In I think 2007 is when they had the main update. This is a 110 CSW, very similar to some of the builds that we do. It's got a 2.4 litre Ford derived engine. I think from the factory it produces around 122 horsepower. This one's been remapped, currently produces around 160. And as you can probably immediately tell, aesthetically it really doesn't look any different to a 25-year-old Defender. In fact, some of the ones we produce are actually probably a bit straighter, and obviously a nicer paint job. The main cosmetic differences were the bulge in the bonnet. That's new, and the reason for that is that the engine sits so much higher in the engine bay. It actually does need that, so that isn't just for cosmetics. On the exterior, I think that's about it. I think the doors, very subtle changes. On the inside, the doors had curved edges instead of sharp ones. We lost the windy windows on the XS models. This is obviously an XS, which meant it got half leather interior, air conditioning, heated seats, and, well, in this case on the CSW version, seven seats, the rear row being forward facing. Quite a nice interior. You'll have to forgive the mess. This is actually my daily driver. But they fold down and face forwards, which is quite cool. One of the slight subtle difference between the early one and the later one is that the rear window got a seal opposed to being bonded in. I think that's it from the outside. Now inside it got quite a large overhaul. Some of the things that nobody particularly liked about Defenders were changed. The dashboard is far more modern. This is what they call the Puma Dash. Obviously it got aircon, but not just the knee cooler aircon, it got the full aircon which comes out of the normal vents. It has a 6-speed manual gearbox. There was no automatic options. I think that's about it really. Cosmetically things are just a little bit nicer. I think Land Rover kind of got some of the annoying little things right, like these headliners used to sag. The seats are full-size seats and quite comfortable. These are really no different. The fronts have always been kind of the same. Just a nicer look in the interior. So if we go for a little drive, and I will just point out we are on private land. Ignore the engine management light. That is because I've unplugged the MAF sensor. I realised it had a bad MAF sensor when I mapped it. Some of the main differences drive-wise in the later ones compared to the early ones is that the engine is far more refined. Somebody may correct me, but I'm pretty sure it's a fly-by-wire throttle arrangement, which, I don't know, just kind of gives that modern car feel. The gearbox is far smoother, and I'll just give you an idea that the throw is tiny. It really doesn't take much to change gear. And the other main noticeable thing here is its ability to cruise at high speed, which is something that, unless you spend a lot of money on a Defender, having it refurbished isn't something that felt particularly safe. So this vehicle, I've personally done 90 miles an hour on a private road, and you can let go of the steering wheel. I mean, there really is no more stable Defender than this, I don't think, as far as they go. Now I'm just about to go onto a public highway, so I'm going to turn around here. figured I would just show you the difference. This vehicle currently retails in the UK at around £30,000, to put things into perspective. So really has held its value. I would think that this vehicle brand new probably didn't cost much more than that. It seems that over the past 4 or 5 years, maybe, as they stop production of these vehicles, that they appear to have held their value a bit better. The performance is massively increased in these vehicles. And that 160 horsepower translates to something that drives quite well. I do believe underneath there's a lot of the drivetrain that has been completely overhauled as well. That the axles are different. Some of the steering components are the same. We've noticed that some of the maintenance items like bearings and pads and calipers, they're all the same as earlier vehicles. I'm sure Land Rover would tell you they're different, but we've actually seen them and replaced them with the parts that we use in the shop on older builds. But as far as drive goes, the main difference is that it feels much smoother, much tighter, slightly quieter, but this hasn't changed. The lack of right arm room, but really everything that this vehicle has that's been modified or updated for the later models is stuff that we actually recreate in our builds. Things like the sound deadening, and just making it a slightly nicer drive. Something else this vehicle had, now I didn't know this the other day until a friend of mine told me, you can put it in first gear with no throttle and let the clutch out, and no matter what you do, this vehicle won't stall. Allegedly it's a crawler function. I think you could literally get out and let it climb up a mountain and it would go on its own. This is a bit of an incline here to give you an idea, but it seems to, I don't know, it's just one of those fancy electronic aids, I think. But it's little things like that that make it a bit nicer. This is a pretty good function as well, the electric window. But other than a couple of little mod cons, really in 25 years this vehicle has remained completely unchanged. It's a real shame that they stopped making them, but what do you guys think? Let me know if there's anything else you want to know about the modern variations of the Defender. But yeah, this isn't really any different to a 2016. They stopped making them, I believe, in 2016. Yeah, there you go.